So we're going to open up Illustrator. Again, a new page. So you're going to go to File, New. In this class, we'll work with print. So just double check that you're print. We're changing our point size to inches because that's what we read. And hit Create. Here's a new page. This assignment will probably require 2 artboards. So what I'm going to do is, make sure you're watching this one. I'm going to go to this artboard right here. This is my new tool. Up at the top, my menu will change. When I hover over, here's a new artboard. And that's how I get a new artboard. Okay, now I'm going to make sure I'm using my type tool. When I click on this type tool, I'm going to click and hold and drag over, and then I get this hover. So there's my type tool. First thing I'm going to do is take my type tool, click down, and you're going to, it comes up with placeholder text. You're going to click and drag across it, type your name. Okay, now to select, to change type, click so you have the blue bounding box around it. You can size that just by dragging, and I typed my name wrong. Edit your name if you spelled it wrong. And you can also change the size up here. So I can change my type styles to like 24. I like to change my fonts to something you like, and then change the color. So it's as easy as that for that one. Then you're going to come back here, and that's your basic type tool. The type tool also creates a text box. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to click and drag a text box, and it's filling it with placeholder text for me. And I'm going to go ahead and just make the type a little bit smaller for this one. Maybe change the font to something a little more paragraph style. And I actually want to fill this entire box really quick with type. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this and paste it. Okay, so once I have my type box, if I grab my black arrow tool, I'm going to click on it. Up across here, you get different things. So again, you can change the color if you want. You can change your font, change the size, but you can also change your paragraph style. So you can have centered. If I click on paragraph, it'll give me some more options for my paragraph style too. So we'll deal with that a little bit later. So you guys have worked with shapes. The fun thing about type boxes in Illustrator is type boxes can also be manipulated just like a shape. So say I'm doing a landscape or a design layout for maybe a magazine, and I have a photo or something I want to crop my lettering around, you can change how that type fits in that paragraph. You can also, so you can manipulate that, you can also add anchor points just like you can with the shape. So if I wanted to do so you can see how you can create some kind of cool effects with the different type styles. So that's the first type tool. That's where you create basic type, and then you also create type boxes. Then if you hover over the next type tool, and again, they're right here if you can't find them, is your area type tool. And if you'll notice, this little square has a shape around it. So now I'm going to go grab a shape. Let's start with a star. So I have a shape. Just know that the shape is going to disappear once I turn it into a type box. So if I want to keep that shape, I should copy and paste it if I'm going to use that shape for something else. So I copied and pasted it. I'm going to go to my area type tool, click on the path of it, and it pops that font right in there. Again, this is all just placeholder font. So if I want to type my own little paragraph, So I can fill something in here with my own paragraph style. When you're creating a shape, the smaller the font, the better you can tell what the shape looks like. It gives me a little tag right here saying I have more type than I have shape, so I can make my shape a little bigger to fill that in. Right now, I'm just showing the shape, so it's not that important. The other thing is, if you come to your paragraph style and you make it justified, it takes the shape of that a little bit better. So you can see how, then again, you can create kind of cool patterns by changing your colors. And the star disappears. So if I wanted, for some reason, that star to be back there, I needed to create that same shape so it's there. And again, it's a shape now, so object, arrange, and send it to the back so it's behind. Or maybe I don't want to fill, maybe I just want an outline of the star. Okay. So then moving on to the next type tool. So you can create any shape. You can create a shape with your pen tool like you did. So like if you want to do an umbrella. Now you're going to move on to the next shape, which is, or next type tool, which is type on a path. So I click on that, and I am going to just use the path I created for my star. So copy and paste. Grab this, click on the type tool, and then I can go ahead and I'm going to still this type right here. So this one typed around the outside of it, and then I can go ahead and change the font size. So now you can start creating some designs using type in Illustrator. We're going to do the next type tool, so there's a bunch more. These ones are the exact same thing, they just repeat themselves. So this one is a type tool where when you type now, it just types downward. You can use it to create a type box. And when you type down, now it's going to type in columns. So it's the exact same type tool as this, except now instead of horizontal, it's vertical. This type tool here is the same as the shape tool. So now I can create whatever shape I wanted. Use this type tool, type on the path, and it will fill it going downward. This shape will type on a path, but instead of going up and down vertical, it's going to go horizontal. And again, you can create any type of shape you want. So if you wanted to take your pen tool, click a shape, and then type on it, it will type horizontal on there. And again, as you're doing this exercise, start playing with the different fonts, change the sizes, change the colors, get it a little bit more interesting. So we've gone through the type tools. Then the last one is the touch type tool. That's a whole other assignment. So we're going to work on that one on its own together. So don't worry about this last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are the ones you'll need for this assignment. Okay, so then on my next page, what I want to do is I'm going to take my type and start manipulating it and turning it into something fun. So I'm going to type a word that I like. For this one, I'm going to change my font to just something a little bit more plain. I'm going to copy and paste this just so I have it again so you can see what the difference is. Okay, so right now, the computer or software is reading this as a font. So now I can go up and change my font and all that stuff. But what I want to do is I want the computer to read it as a shape. So it puts those paths and anchor points around it. Okay, so if you weren't watching before, this is what you're going to want to see really quick. You're going to select it, go up to type, and down to create outlines. And what happens is now the computer doesn't read this as a font anymore. It's reading it as a shape. So can you see those little anchor points? So now I can manipulate them. So you guys have been playing with anchor points in on shapes. Now we've turned this into shape. So I could take this design now and take my anchor points and start changing them around. So you can see how I could quickly start designing something kind of cool for maybe a logo for graphics. They're also separate, so now I can click on them with my right arrow tool. I can change the colors. Before, if I tried to change the color, it would change the whole thing. So we'll do green and gold for current graphics. Okay, so you can manipulate. The other thing is you can kind of take these and with the black arrow tool, they're grouped. If I want to ungroup them so I can change some stuff, I'm ungroup. Click on it and I can rotate them so now they're not together. So this is really cool. Like think about if you're designing a t-shirt for yourself, you don't want it to just to say like graphics boring. Maybe you want to add some kind of cool effects to it. And that's just manipulating the anchor points, kind of moving them around. I'm going to go ahead and group that back together and set it off to the side. So there's one way I could play around with it. So I have it again. I'm going to walk through those steps again. So I'm going to go to copy and paste so I don't have to type the word again. Click on it, type, create outline, ungroup. Now I can change that up. Again, using your white arrow tool, you can play with different things. So I'm going to have you do 4 different examples of this, but the other thing I want you to do is, we're going to group this back up. Under select, we have, or sorry, under effect, we have an image called warp. So you have a bunch of different warps you can do. So I want you to play around with these. If you hit preview, you can see what it's doing. Right now I'm at arch, so I can move this around and create some kind of cool effects with the warping. I can go to different ones. I can arch just the lower. I can change how I want it, or I can have it go up. So I'm like, oh, I like the way that one looks. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK and leave that there. Right now, my anchor points aren't aligned with my lettering, so I'm going to go to Object, down to Expand Appearance, and that pops my anchor points there. So now I can kind of play around with that. I'm going to add just 2 words together. So you can see, like, if I were designing maybe a t-shirt for the football team, I could put like a half of a football there and have it like, say, Kearns High School football. Or maybe you're doing something for another class, you want like an I in there. Maybe for like a journalism class or something, you can add something in there. So you can see how just manipulating your type is going to create cool designs for your decals and your stickers and your t-shirt designing class. Okay, so again, create outlines. Effect, warp, preview so you can see what you're warping. Oh, I'm doing the wrong one. So I can have a space in here, or if I wanted it to go the other way, so they kind of go together. So you can see how you can put 2 words together and start creating kind of cool logo or t-shirt design. And again, play with your colors so it's not so boring. Okay, now one last thing is the next tool is you have, I'm just going to type a different word so it's not all the same. Play with different fonts also, so you can see what different fonts do. But under here, I'm going to take this KHS. under effect, you have distort and transform. Play around. So you have a free distort, or maybe you wanted it to kind of look like it's fading into the background. And this works in paragraphs too, so you can create a paragraph that does that look. It's kind of cool. Or you have, so I'm going to go distort and transform. Tweak's kind of a fun one. And again, I always like to preview so I can see what's going on. And just kind of move them. You can get them so they're going crazy, so you can't even read it. Or the other one I like is the pucker and bloat. So again, effect, distort and transform. Zigzag's kind of cool, but I'm going to let you guys play around with those. Pucker and bloat's a cool one. Preview again. So puckering it, pops it out. And again, I'm going to go to Object and Expand Appearance. So maybe some of these I really want to pop out. I'm trying to make it look like even fireworks or something, so I can grab this anchor point and really pull those out so I can even morph it more than the computer did. Okay, so on the worksheet that's in front of you, if you just look down, it's going to follow through these. So you're going to get a page, make sure you have 2 artboards, and number 1, it says right there, type your name and period. One thing I want you to do is make sure that you change the size to 24 points. So once you use the type tool to type your name, you're going to select it, change it to 24 points, change the font to Helvetica Bold, so you're going to go over here to your font, find Helvetica, and then make sure it's bold. Change the fill to red and the stroke to black. So that's number 1. Then you're going to go to number 2, and it says type inside a shape. So right here you'll see I typed inside of a star. Number 3 says type around a shape, so I typed around a star. Number 4, type your name downward, where I already did that there. Number 5, type inside a shape downward. That was my little arrow. Number 6, type around a pathway sideways. So here's my type around a path sideways. Number 7 is type a word, create outlines, and make it into a shape. Manipulate the anchor points. So that's my graphics right here. But the one thing I didn't do is I want you to create 4 different examples. So I would have right here for number 7, 4 different words where I have manipulated the anchor points and moved them around, and they look a little different. Now type a word. Number 8 is type a word. Create outlines to make it a shape. Go to Filter and Distort. So it's right here, and actually it's Distort and Transform. And the new one, it's not Filter anymore, it's Effect. I need to update this worksheet in front of you. So it's Effect, Distort, and Transform. And then you're going to do 4 different examples on there. And then number 9 says type a word, create outlines, and make it a shape. And go to Effect and Warp. And give me 4 examples of different ways you could do that. Once you've done that, you're going to save it as a PDF and then submit this assignment to Canvas.